pay the teachers, run the universities very well. Let there be a constant
the wonderful information,
academic period, not every time there's a strike because the tutors are not paid, the teachers, the professors are not paid, this and that, and for 1 or 2 months,
Nigerian elections have finally taken.
How would they then qualify and become good doctors? How would you then have a good medical personnel to be able to treat? Apart from that, the hospitals are not well equipped. You don't have good medication, you don't have x-rays, you don't have surgical equipment, you don't have beds, you don't have anything.
Do they allow private hospitals to be opened up? Because I come from Uganda and we have something similar, but now we have private hospitals that are springing up slowly. People are going into if the government is not investing there, then ordinary people could invest there. Now, I've got 1 or 2 Ugandans who have actually built small clinics. They have been abroad and have gone back home and have built clinics that are even doing better than what the government provides. Now, Nigerians with their wealth.
Yes, we have private hospitals, and the private hospitals are well managed.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. They are really well managed. Yeah. But the issue is that they are very expensive for a poor person to be able to afford.
Yeah, okay.
And if a farmer or a market woman is sick, first of all, those hospitals demand money before treatment.
Yeah, before treatment. Yeah.
So the money they are asking is not just they can ask about 20,000-50,000 that the farmer or the market woman cannot afford, or even a common trader. So that brings us to government initiative to have a good health system. Like we have here, NHS.
Of course,
Nigeria is rich enough to run NHS similar in our own country.
Of course.
Because if it's well organized, well managed, and good people trying to lead that system, we wouldn't have problem with health.
But everything comes back to corruption. Now, the biggest problem is one of the Nigerians I've made, another Ghanaian guy, I've made during this discussion. At one point, we were having a discussion centered on corruption in Africa.
Yes.
Corruption is such embedded in our cultures and our system that it's very difficult. It's going to be very difficult to root out. Now, the only option we could have, as the late Delegiwa, one of the journalists was killed.
Yes. Delegiwa, yes.
The Nigerian journalist was killed. Was the fact that he was saying, look, let us print, let us get people's names
we don't know where it's going to end.
We can prove. People come to us independently, and we don't have to mention their names, and we know where the corrupt officials are. We know where the money is, because some people want to mention those who are corrupt. But the problem is that they fear. There's that fear element.
Of course.
They'll lose their jobs. They'll lose everything.
Yes, they can even be killed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it's true.
Because we are waiting.
Almost the way he was killed.
Yeah.
So there is that big problem
going all the way.
Even the next leader who comes on in Nigeria, or the next leader who comes on in Uganda, or in Kenya, because the system is that it's very difficult to root it out. Even if that leader tries, he may end up being killed. So you see, can there be a solution to this?
There is a solution.
Yeah.
There is a solution.
I'm sure
somebody must have to
the election.
Yeah.
We are in the modern
the APC
world.
Was so confident.
All these processes we are going in Africa.
The ones that existed here. Of course.
It's somebody who stopped it.
You know, I agree.
The issue here is,
example, in the
for Mr. President to start with, to be impeccable. For him not to be corrupt.
I will not call it war.
And to make sure that those under him are not corrupt. He must check them. And he must have a system, mechanism to check them.
People are being killed there. And you will tell me that 100% of the registered voters appeared to vote? It's not possible.
Yeah, because of
killings, because of the Boko Haram.
So
yes. That is not correct. Secondly, in Lagos, there was so much intimidation. People of a particular ethnic group were intimidated, their votes were burnt, and so on and so forth. And vote buying, even during election, and in some parts of the country, you're on the edge, boys and girls voting. I mean,
why didn't the international observers say that everything went well? And you know,
well, it depends. If I can go on, I'm sorry. If I can go on, you see, what I notice with happenings in Nigeria is that international observers, particularly from the West, they think that things should go the way things go here in the West. Now, it is possible that these international observers are not taken to where elections or these malpractices are taking place. They always keep them away. Most of them end up in city centers or near five-star hotels where such things will not be happening. But when you go into the hinterlands, you find so much malpractice going on, such as this underage voting and filling of ballot boxes with thumb-printed ballot papers that were done even before the day of the election. Well, we are going to the tribunal, and this case has to be settled, and due process has to be followed.
Chief, I want to find out, APC or DPP, PDP is not challenging the report of the international observers. Is it challenging it?
No, what still here is what we are looking at as of now. You know, the issue is that the Nigerian election for the presidency did not took place in a free, fair atmosphere, and it did not as well took place in a free and fair, credible election as to be able to produce a credible election result. Like my PDP chairman said, we saw, even from the result when it was being announced, that the result were being influenced, were being manipulated. And not only that, the election result was delayed, so of almost three days. And you can imagine in that space, a lot of things are changing hands, a lot of numbers are changing, and not to talk about the margin of winnings of APC presidential candidate Muhammad Buhari to that of Atiku the PDP presidential candidate.
Okay.
I gave instance on the last program that if you take Kanu for example, in Kanu they gave APC 1.4 million. I'm just rounding it up.
Okay.
And then gave PDP 300 and something as the number of votes they acquired. Now, if you do the minus, the mathematics, you can see the gap there.
Yeah, of course.
Right. If you come to the southeast, for example, you see that the number of votes acquired from Enugu, Anambra, Abia, or Ebonyi, or, you know, if you add them up, that gap they have in Kanu have already consumed all those votes.
Okay.
Plus, have excess. Now, like I told you before, if you see the result which was sent to me by the DG
of Articulated Agenda 2000, Chief Dr. Emeka Kalu, right, sent it to me. And from this result, the Nigerian presidential election result, full. You will see that at the bottom here, they said PDP is acquiring 14,442,550 votes. And also APC having 12,275,296 votes. That is what was sent. But the INEC result was that PDP have had 15 million votes in total, in a round up, plus some fractions.
Okay.
And then PDP were having 11 million and some fractions.
All right.
So if you see, you can see that some manipulations took place. Okay, for Kanu, for an instance, Kanu, which I just said, Kanu here, they said Kanu has 1.06.78. That's 1,064,768. Now that is APC. Then you see that PDP we are having 791,593.
Okay.
So you see that the gap here,
yeah,
the difference was not too much. That is how the manipulation took places that rounded up the total that Mr. Buhari, Alhaji Buhari, the president of Nigeria, was declared the winner.
Okay.
So the PDP having this results, because they collected this result and they tabulated it, plus all the malpractices and some area was deliberately disenfranchised, and those areas were areas the PDP would get more votes. So you can imagine.
Yeah.
And if the election did not take place in those areas, of course, what do you think that will happen?
Right. These have all been rounded up, and they are going to happen in court. And I need an opinion, Femi, on this, because obviously you've been APC person.
Sympathizer, supporter.
Yeah.
Look, the thing of what is great about these kind of fora and opportunities for everybody to have their say, and we've had that here today, which is great. And what I want to, just touch on before I speak on my own behalf is to just pick up on some of the things that the PDP chairman said, the PDP UK chairman said. We know that there were issues, and there never is anything like a perfect election in Africa. Okay. And the idea that you'll have perfect elections is just a dream, which is not going to happen in our lifetime. Even South Africa, it's never peaceful. The one, the icons of democracy, if you like, at the moment. Kenya,
Femi, that is not an excuse.
I didn't speak with
I know, but I want to interject here because I know him. This is not the first time we're on the television.
I just
want to interject that.
Let me hear what he has to say.
We cannot accept substandard to be an excuse for Africa.
I haven't even got into the meat of what I want to say.
Okay. All right.
So what I wanted to emphasize is that, so when we had issues such as what happened in Lagos, and the chairman here says that was an ethnic target at an ethnic group, I think we must be very mindful about what we say. That was targeted at a specific polling booth.
Okay.
Within that polling booth, or maybe a number of polling booths, there will be Nigerians from every ethnic minority that would have been disenfranchised by that event. Of course, you can say that the majority in that area most likely were Igbos, but to call it an ethnic scenario, I think is very dangerous. And I think we must caution ourselves when we speak in that way. Now, talking about free and fair elections, of course, I've said already that it's never perfect. He talked, and the chief here also mentioned things like the figures were amazing, and he's brought in a lot of figures here that really, to be honest with you, I think you should reserve those to the court, and you know that's going to happen in the tribunal, and they'll get down to those figures. But what I wanted to look at in those figures was that, you know, I think the chairman said that there were places where there was 100% voting for the APC. That never happened anywhere. In fact, the average voting statistics are showing that the turnout was about 30, 45, 40% in terms of the registered number of, I mean, the people that got their PVCs.
PVC cards, yeah.
Yeah, and then the people that were accredited.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the people that were even voted were much less than that. So it wasn't 100% people that were accredited that were voting. So then, of course, he mentions about areas where their people were disenfranchised. If you like, these are PDP strongholds, such as Rivers State and some other places. What I will say is that at the end of the day, what INEC had to do was quantify the total number of all those votes.
Okay.
If indeed the numbers of those votes that were disenfranchised were significant enough to make a difference in the election, they would have called it inconclusive, and they would have had to have a rerun. But having added up all the ones that were disenfranchised for whatever reason, both on the APC side and the PDP side.
So how do you know the numbers?
Okay.
Because the way they know the numbers is, one, they've got the register of number of people that were registered in those areas. So if taken that into account, because they don't take into account just the people that were accredited, they take into account the numbers that were registered, so even if they didn't accredit themselves. So when you add up those totals, it doesn't add up to the margin of difference between APC and PDP. With regards to whether these are some genuine statistics that some in Nigeria we're used to this, bringing and banding out figures from here to there that supposedly are legitimate or not legitimate. Let's leave that for the courts to decide which were the legitimate ones. And finally, what I wanted to say is that with respect to the international community, if you recollect, prior to the actual election, coming up to the election itself, there was this whole fracas that the government was anti the media, anti the observers, because the likes of El Rufai made some sort of very crazy comments that were like something was going to happen to them. But now these same people are now saying that the election was free and fair, and PDP are saying, oh no, they're ridiculous. So you want it one way, and then you don't want it when it's not nice. So to me, if you don't like figures because they don't favor you, I think that speaks volumes. I think let's let the courts decide. If the courts make a case that there is, you know, a problem here, and of course you have his day in court, and if they say we have to have a rerun, the same thing happened in Kenya. There was a victory, they had to have a rerun of the elections. So we in the APC are not afraid of whatever the courts will do. So I don't think the PDP should be afraid. I thought shouting at the top of our voices to say that, oh, it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged, let the courts decide.
I need something. I need an opinion before we proceed to something else. Because
I need to come in here.
You will come
in. You know, me and Femi, we never agree. So I know his angle, but I need to counteract some of this in his sense.
By all means.
By all means. But give me a moment. There's a man who is suing both Buhari and Atiku. He's suing both of them, and he says they should both be disqualified. Now that we're mentioning the court, his name is Alhaji. You know the person.
I believe I know.
He's put his name forward. He was a member of a political party that participated in the election, and he's actually saying that there's something that happened that the two main political parties. So he's saying that they both should be disqualified.
I'm not sure under what grounds he wants President Buhari to be disqualified. Well, I have heard of the case where someone is alleging that Atiku was not born a Nigerian, and because of that he should be disqualified. I think that's
his party's National Rescue Movement.
Those are non-entity parties.
Section 91, subsection 2.
A party that maybe didn't even get 1,000 votes. In fact, you can start looking at it. These are not serious entities. So at the end of the day, if there's a case, I don't know if it's the same case where they're mentioning that they believe that Atiku shouldn't be entitled to the presidency because he wasn't born a Nigerian, that was born in the former Cameroon, which was southern Cameroon, which amalgamated into Nigeria. But if you say that, then I say that then all of them will not be entitled to, because at the time they were born, Nigeria wasn't an independent entity anyway. It was a British colony. So does that mean anyone born before independence is not entitled to become president? So all these sort of things, I think they're silly.
It's something that would work.
Now,
I want the chief has got something to say before he forgets.
Yes. I want to talk on Femi's analysis. Femi, how many registered voters do the INEC produce or declare in Nigeria?
I can give you that figure. I think it was 80 something million. Yeah.
Yeah? All right. Now let's add these results. Let's add 15 million. Yeah? And add 11 million. We are just rounding it up. Is it up to 84? Yeah. Hold on. Is it up to 84? Now, let's add those that were really accredited. So you can see that the margin, if you add APC vote and the PDP vote, they are nowhere near.
Yeah, but remember,
they are, hold on, my brother, near the accredited
figure.
So the areas that were disenfranchised, that the vote were spoiled, if you count them in different areas across the nation, how that wouldn't count is what I don't know.
Chief, can I say something here? Remember, we are crediting two parties here. We are at APC and PDP.
Correct.
Now, there were other political parties that took place in Nigeria as well. There are other parties. Now, you are not accrediting. Those people took votes as well.
They took.
They may have taken
the quantum, the quantity of the vote they took.
Yeah.
It's not up. It's not near 1 million or 2. If you add all of other parties together,
so they took very little votes.
But the results are here. You can see them.
The votes
they are not.
Parties were,
if you add the other, very minute, because some people are getting 17. So if you add all of them together, they would not even be nearing 1 or 2 million.
So what you're trying to say? What you're trying to say now?
I can give you there. I have it here. I can give you the figure.
That's fine, Chief. We're not going to go into that.
I'm talking on facts. I can give you INEC figure and give you this figure that was produced was sent to me by the Director General of Articulated Agenda.
Yeah, but
what I'm telling you, that there are significant disenfranchisement that will warrant. Hopefully it will be decided in court if the court will be just and fair. Why I'm saying this, because already a period leading to this election, the Chief Justice of Nigeria was removed allegedly because of issues, but was not removed according to the law, because what the Nigerian Constitution says that the Senate to 10 must vote. I know why I brought this up, but the president removed Onoga and then appointed the Sharia Chief Judge to be the Chief Judge of Federation, Tanko Mohammed. Why I'm bringing this issue is that it might somehow in the court play a role. I'm just saying that. For saying it safe. So sorry, give me time. You gave my friend a lot of time here. Give me time. I'm trying to finish one of the things he said here.
I want the chairman to say something as well.
All right.
The chairman.
I will give way now.
Yeah, the chairman has got to say something.
We have to diagnose this issue.
I know.
We're not here just to waste time. We're here to talk facts.
I know. The chairman has got to say something as well. Before you go ahead, the chairman has got to say something in regards to the issue. Because what I'm looking at here is that there are certain votes that are missing somewhere that we need really to find. If the smaller parties took something and then the bigger parties took another margin, then there are votes that disappeared. For example, people never got their cards and others didn't vote, and because of the postponement, some people didn't go because they had gone back. So there are votes that disappeared there. I want somebody to bring me to light in regards to that.
I should come in here.
Yeah.
Now, there was gross disenfranchisement in this election that took place.
Yeah.
Now you find that we were now supposed to implement the use of card readers for this election.
Yeah.
And before the election, we were told that areas that do not use card readers, their votes will not be counted.
Will be zero.
Will not
that,
be considered.
That was the
information. That is the information that is still out there in the media.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, in PDP-dominated areas where they deliberately destroyed the card readers, they now said because they didn't use card readers, the votes were not valid. But now in areas that were pro-APC, they didn't even bother to use the card readers.
Okay.
And the votes were counted. So what do you tell me? What is that? What is the free and fair, credible election that we were promised? What happened? And how can the international community say it was free and fair? And if the international community observers were taken to such places, they would have seen it. Clearly, it shows that the electoral body has something. They need to explain, and that is why we are going to a tribunal. And if we are not satisfied, we proceed to the court. But I assure you, from the tribunal, we are going to win the case because we have a body of evidence.
Right. I want Femi to say something in regards to
what he's just said.
What he just said, because I also want to let our viewers know if certain things have happened, and in this is for all of you, and those malpractices are in, say for example, in 2 or 3 states, that doesn't mean that the election should be. But if it has happened in 20 states, for example, then you can think in terms of, hey, something is wrong. But if it has happened in small,
so what you're saying is exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
As I said from the onset, no election in Africa is completely free of any kind of disturbance.
Okay.
And so then you now have to start looking at what are the incidents of disturbance? How many of them were there? You have 170,000 separate polling booths. And I'm telling you, there's not up to 1,000 incidents of these, what we call these malpractices. 1,000 incidents is not even 1%.
Okay.
Now, they've said that in, INEC have actually said that 2% of card readers were faulty. 2%. Because they've got the records. The idea that they don't have the records, I think we should put that to bed. They had the records. 2% of them were faulty. So when you're talking about 100% and 2%, that's why I'm saying to you, when they get to court, we love them to go to court. They're going to spend their money. They get all this, what I call the servants against Nigeria, which are the SAN. They're going to go there and waste all the money for Atiku. Let them go. I think it's a great thing. It's a good service for democracy. Let's see the judiciary.
Why would it be that? Why would it be that? Why would it be only in PDP-dominated areas that these card readers will be faulty? They were deliberately destroyed. They were banned. 400 card readers in the east.
I could sit down here and say that in these areas that APC were, these ones were destroyed and whatever. It's neither here nor there. Let's take that to the, I think we should take that to the tribunal for them to deal with that. But just going on to the figures, we have 84 million voters registered. But as you know, and years have shown us that over the years we've always had low voter turnout. And in fact, for me, as a member of the Director General of the Nigerian Institute, I questioned that register in the first instance. Because every time the register is increasing and increasing, but they're not doing proper
accountability.
Not accountability. No, it's not even record keeping. over time you have to clean up the register. People will have died.
Yeah.
People have moved. Lots of things have happened, but that register keeps on mounting up. So it's not been cleaned up properly. In other countries, what normally happens is that every election is a new register. They clean up the register. Whereas our one, we're not. So we're mounting it up and saying 84 million, next time it's going to be 100 and something million. So to say that that's the real register is not necessarily the case. So that's one. And then on top of that, you find that there's a lot of apathy. Why is there a lot of apathy? Because the young people are not engaged with two septuagenarians as their main political parties. You've got Atiku 70-something, Buhari 70-something. If I'm 18, 20, I'm not going to feel encouraged to go and vote for them. There's also the saying that PDP and APC are one and the same. So, you know what, it's a choice of why am I voting? So that also counts for that. Then you've also had incidents where it was postponed. So that postponement will also have let some people not vote. And then going back finally to the figures, the actual number of accredited voters was 29 million. The number of valid votes was 27 million. So the idea that there's such a big discrepancy between the number of people that voted, the number of people that were credited, it's not right. I mean, these are the facts there. Now, it doesn't mean because there was 84 million on the register that 84 million were accredited. The only number that were accredited was about 28 million. And of that 28, 27 were valid. The rest obviously were invalid. So that's why I'm saying to that, when you look at the differential between the valid and the ones that were cancelled and all the rest of it, it doesn't meet up to the margin of victory between the two parties. And that's why, in the end, this action, which is laudable in itself, you know, challenge, of course, that's your right to do so, but it's going to fail on the face of it.
All right, before I go ahead, and I just need an opinion about what the chief had said earlier on. The removal of the Chief Justice. And so what else? There were two things. The removal of the Chief Justice.
And he talked about a Sharia judge taking his place. I thought that was another. You see, this is the kind of way of our politics, which I see. I'm a pan-Nigerianist, and I don't like these kind of scenarios. I don't bring my religion into the scenario. You don't know whether I'm Muslim or Christian. By emphasizing he's a Sharia judge, that's going to create connotations and make some people think, oh, let me finish. The reason why I say that is that he was put in position not by virtue of his Sharia judges or whatever, but because he was the next senior judge in the position. He could have been anybody. It just so happens that he was the one in place. Now, with regards to Onoge, as far as I'm concerned, it's outrageous that he's there, and he didn't recluse himself, he didn't resign, he decided to stay there as a Chief Justice, going into court and all that. You know, to me, it's just unseemly. And he could have done everybody a favor by reclusing. I mean, obviously there are allegations, we're not saying he's guilty, but they're weighty allegations. The evidence is quite overwhelming in a way, but of course, the way our judicial system has been created to favor the corrupt elite.
But the process of removing him, is it legitimate?
In my view, what happened there was a creative... I'm answering the question. In my view, it was a creative measure by the presidency to do what they did. Because, you see, even if let's assume he was a PDP presidency, and he found that information out, he would be in an equally similar position where, how can we have this kind of a judge in position with this evidence?
A due process should have been followed. You should have referred it to the Senate. Due process. That is the due process.
The Senate that's not sitting, that's one, so that wouldn't have happened. You could have gone to the NJC, which is the National Judicial Council, but that one, Onoge, as it were, he put in a perpetual, put them on hold. That they're not to sit. So that due process was already blocked. So the government saw that he couldn't go to NJC because Onoge has told them to put them on suspension. Couldn't go to the Senate because the Senate is already in fracas. There's no 2/3 majority there. So that would have been a waste of time. So what he's done is he's not fired him, they've suspended him. Suspension on the outcome of his case. Of course, if he's successful, he will be reinstated. If, of course, he is found to be wanting, then the law will take its course.
Let me say something here. Now, you see, we are not in support of what Onegen did, if alleged to have done.
Yeah.
Now, the situation in Nigeria is this, that the current government has been telling us that they are fighting corruption. And they acted on a petition sent in against Onegen, Walter Onegen. Now, this petition came in about end of January, and by February, barely less than a month, this man was put on suspension. Meanwhile, there are several other people in the government, ministers, advisors, that have had petitions against them for the 2-3 years that the government has been in place.
All right.
Nothing has been done. Nothing has been had about it. Why?
Could it
I mean, if you are actually
the position of the man is in, because you see,
if you are fighting corruption, you need to start inward. Why is it always people that you perceive to be in the opposition? Onegen is not our friend. He is not in the opposition. After all, he almost took our mandate from us in 2007. So it is not that we are in support of him. Our concern is the process.
Right.
Due process should be followed.
As he has already explained, the reason why the due process probably never took place because the Senate
blocking mechanisms were put in place.
The system wasn't as it is.
It's not robust enough. It's not robust enough.
I want us to pursue the election issue a bit further, because what is going on at the moment is that next week there is the governorship. Saturday, governorship election, which is, if we are not careful, a similar process is going to be repeated, and then we are going to have lawsuits going on. What do we do now? Because I don't know if changes are going to be there after having seen these results and having seen what's going on.
No, the issue, Stephen, is that we should not be accepting substandard.
I agree.
We shouldn't say because it's Africa, like what Femi is saying, because it's nowhere in Africa. It is substandard. We should be aiming at least to be in a standard position, not to accept substandard and use a skill because it's in Africa. Why must it be? When in European countries also election takes place.
So the levels
now,
are different.
We have problems there.
Don't say that, because it's not the same.
The UK, the vote league
I saw that.
But the level of malpractices, the level of malpractices in Nigeria, it's outrageous. Because even the public felt it. I have not seen where an election was announced and the whole nation became sad. There are a few pockets where people, of course, the APC and the other people that supported the APC, we are jubilating. But if you go across the country, you see that people were very sad, that was the reflection. That was the reflection of how the election went. And you said earlier on that the ethnic issue raised by Mr. Maton here, the PDP chairman, should not be said. Why wouldn't it be said?
I didn't say the way you reflected it.
Because even you called Igbos, which is, of course, that was the area they were dominating. So therefore, he is right to mention that. And even if you go to Kano as well, or go to Kaduna, the areas they were having problems were the areas of the Christian Kaduna or other areas that they felt that PDP will have more votes
Right.
So, no, you see, my brother, give me some time.
Okay,
because
okay.
You need to understand. And the viewers that are not Nigerians, so even the Nigerians that are not very clear in this issue, need to understand that things were not right. Everybody saw it, that we are not right. Not because they declared Buhari a winner. But the processes, the procedures were not correct. What went on were not right. The card readers, majority were faulty. And now they have to come and do continuous accreditation. That's you thumbprint.
Are you against that?
Hold on, I'm not against it. But what happened shows that it wasn't right. During the election result, they were one of the APC observer called the attention of the INEC chairman, Muhammad Yakubu, right? That he should give the facts of the result, the number of people that the card reader they used to accredit voters. That what are the numbers? Because the card readers is electronic, so you should have been given the numbers. So give that number in Kano, give it in Katsina, give it in, of course, in every other places. So that answer was not answered. That evidence was not produced. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see.
And at the same time, the acceptance of the card reader not working, and therefore you show your PVC, you are verified, and you vote. When they have already said the area that refuses to use the smart card reader should get 0.
Right, Chief. We've
now,
listened.
Just before we go,
Yeah.
What happened also that you find that the supplier of these card readers and electoral materials was an APC candidate. So, what do you expect?
APC candidate.
See,
okay.
When you say he was a supplier, he wasn't a supplier of the equipment, but he was a contractor. He was one of the contractors. Yes, I'm not going to dispute that. And that was raised. That was raised before the actual election.
The election
that doesn't necessarily.
Okay.
Anyway,
are we looking at because I'm a firm believer of moving forward,
yes,
and a firm believer of the future, because we can't change the past. Although we can challenge it,
yes,
and it's already been challenged in court.
Yes.
But I believe in seeing if there is anything positive that we could help this move forward. Should we get foreigners, outsiders? Because this might be of help at some point. Not only in areas where you know that
we can do it.
I want to agree
to
with Chief in that we shouldn't accept mediocre elections.
Okay.
But like I keep saying to everybody, the fault in our elections isn't about Nigerians. It's not about the people. It is our dastardly politicians from both sides. Because if he's going to sit down, if any of them are going to sit down and tell us that it's only APC, they're just deceiving themselves. The do or die politicians are the nature of our politics in Nigeria, and they are the ones that are causing the problem. They are the reasons why people will go and firebomb ballots. They will kill in River State. They will suppress votes. They will ballot snatching, ballot buy and vote buying, and all that. It's all down to the politicians.
Right. What's the way forward then?
So the way forward.
I made a suggestion. You simply put it out of the way.
But we're not going back to colonialism.
No. That's not what I mean. What I mean is this. What's going to happen in future? Because I think South Africa and one or two African countries have come up with a very good idea. Say, look, for the time being, if we get a foreign company, for example, hang on a minute.
To come and be involved in the election
to get
process?
Involved in an election process, in a sense that when it comes to ballot boxes and stuff like that, if you have, say for example, a Group 4 company here, it has come up with an idea. with this big fund, a security fund, but with a multinational electoral
I understand where you're coming from. But
so
with
that
the best will in the world, all those things are subject to influence and all the rest and we won't accept that and under any circumstances.
If it's electronically involved.
No. Okay, can I say something here?
Right.
Sorry, Femi. Now, you see, Stephen, I must tell you that we have a lot of Nigerians and Africans out in the West. And there is no profession in this country or in the United States that you will not find Africans that are performing beyond expectation.
All right.
Absolutely.
If any Westerner can do it, so we can do it.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
It is just that our politicians do not have the will. Now, especially these older politicians. For example, our current president started as a governor, a minister, when he was about 30 or less.
Okay.
And he's been in government since then until he became the head of state of Nigeria and was removed in a coup.
Okay.
Thereafter, he persisted in coming back as the president. Now, you can only imagine when he was governor at the age of about 30, there were people in Nigeria. What makes him think that there are no 30-year-olds that can be presidents of Nigeria, that can lead Nigeria? Why should he be there? Why must he be there?
Okay, we are going into an area now which is
so what I am saying is that we have so much youth in Nigeria that can do it.
Listen, so many African countries.
Yes. So we don't need to bring in foreign electoral bodies.
No, ideally, the reason why I brought that in is there are two things here. 2 or 3 other countries used not to have, for example, we have traffic lights as usual for cars. Speed cameras were never there. In most countries, even in my country at some point, we didn't have speed cameras. But suddenly, we realized that because of corruption here and there, when the speed cameras come in, obviously, you're not going to challenge a camera. Why has it flashed you and why you should go direct and pay to court? Because the auditors will go and look at what the camera has produced. Now, you want the money that should have gone to the government used to go to the traffic officer. You know, they used to go traffic officers because now the other group is independent. Those who collect the pictures from the camera are independent. They just hand it to government, and everybody goes and he pays because that's money which is required, and it's audited directly there. Now, what I'm saying is that when it comes to the elections, in view with what he has just said about the politicians, because once they reach the top, they're above the law. They create their own law. But if you create the mechanism which prevents them from overrunning, that's part of the whole thing. If you bring in a foreign company, for example, with Nigerians, for example, managing it, no problem about that.
Going back to what you're saying, at the end of the day, whatever means, we can put all sort of ideas forward, but you need the politicians to do it. So our legislators, what I call legislators, they're not legislators anymore. They're in there for themselves. So when they get there, they're not going to do these changes that you're talking about because it won't favour them. They won't be able to do their rigging if they have these good, strong systems. For example, INEC should be on the first line, not going to the presidency to collect its money. It should be done independently. There are other means in terms of when you want to have the chairman of INEC. It shouldn't be the president that's going to be sitting that should be hiring that chap, for example. There's so many things that need to be changed.
Why the reason why I always want to challenge this is that I have a very good example. Martin Luther King in America, when he started his campaigns, even African Americans were telling him that you're going nowhere. You are not going to change the system. The system is all white, is all this and that. But the man took his challenges. He went to areas, he did this, he did that. So in the end, they listened to him. So what I'm saying is that what begins slowly, you people can have these ideas, put them forward.
Just before and these ideas comes in, I just want to touch on that because it focuses on the new breed of politicians that we have. What you just said there is what I keep saying is the failing of our so-called new breed. What did Martin Luther King do? He went down to Selma, he went down to Birmingham, Alabama, he went down to the grassroots and built structures and built them up, which our politicians, the new breed of politicians, are deceiving themselves. The AACs, the AA, whichever the party they are. I mean, the maximum any one of them got was 110,000 votes and a country of 200 million. And the only reason that was a party called PSP. And I believe that what happened there was they thought they were voting for PDP. And they meant you've lost about 100,000 votes there. They voted for him. So he came second, he came the third largest party, was PSP. That's a fact. So these other ones, they don't have any structure. They don't, and they think that structure is about money. Structure is not about money. It's about having people on the ground, sharing your ideas and building people and teams of people. And in the elections coming, in this elections, I actually think that it's going to be a good thing, for a good election for PDP, because they gained in places like Osun State, they've gained in places like Edo, in places like, although Osun is not having any governorship election, and the other ones don't have, but what might happen is that the legislature, they might win there, you understand? So we can look at the state elections and see that it's not going to be, it might not be so bad for PDP after all.
As an APC sympathizer, I want to find out, PDP, what is going wrong in PDP?
To me, the genesis
because
of PDP...
Atiku ran a very, very good campaign.
Well, that's your,
but what went
that's
wrong?
your opinion. I feel that their campaign wasn't a very good campaign.
Why?
And I'll tell you why. One, their campaign, I think, would have been great if they focused solely on the economy. People, you're suffering, things are bad, focus on the economy, putting bread and butter on the table. This government is not helping you. If that was their core focus, I think they would have got more traction and the results could have been much closer. I still believe Buhari would have won, but it'd be even closer. Now, what they chose to do was what I call character assassination. It's the fake Buhari. He's not a real Buhari. He's sick. He's got dementia.
I'm coming here. That is the angle you saw.
Okay, let's hear the chat.
I'm not spoken. I have not spoken at all.
No, I know you are doing it because I've been
I respect his
normal,
that's why
a normal guest to your studio. That's why I take a bad decision. I've not had them before.
Okay,
you know? But that doesn't mean that I should not be having my own fair share of time, because I know we now used to this program.
What do you say?
You know, I am not going to buy his idea to start with. He is APC, body and flesh, and also soul. So whether he's trying to, he was trying to criticize the system created by the APC, which favored the APC.
Which system was that?
No, what you just said here. What the things you mentioned.
No, he was asking my analysis of why I think you didn't do well. No. I'll give you my
even
answer.
Before then, what you were saying about Buhari not being able, or Buhari shouldn't be appointing the INEC chairman, right?
That's a constitutional thing. It's not an APC thing.
No.
It's a constitutional thing.
But he appoints who will have a sympathetic ear to him.
And
not only that,
let's hear the chief.
Saying again that the issues which we have already enumerated that are not facts. I want us to deal with election results that brought this announcement, because if the election were free and fair, the result will not be what we are having now.
Okay.
And it's a pure and simple matter.
Okay.
But because of the intimidation, because of the disenfranchisement of certain people in many areas, that brought the type of result we have. And also, the result that was produced were not accurate results. The result were manipulated in sense to suit the ruling party. And that is why PDP
that's why we are challenging the result.
In court, yeah.
You know, in court.
Yeah.
Now, one more thing here you should bear in mind. You were saying about having mercenaries or foreign people to come and run our election.
Yeah.
That is out of the question, because you know I have said it in your studio before,
Yeah, I know.
that we are capable of running our election free and fair, if not because of the bad politicians or bad apple or whoever they are, who wants to keep on perpetually ruling until they die in that seat.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so, Mr. Chairman here said about the younger ones not being able to come forward.
Yeah.
Of course, when the politicians in power have embezzled and acquired a lot of wealth, and the younger ones coming up have not got such amount of money to dish out, to buy people over, to compete. Therefore, it's not a level playing ground. And the issue a good government should do, which is happening in United Kingdom, there is a cap of budget for every political party. So therefore, there is not. So therefore, giving the bag of rice with the names and logos and buying PVC shouldn't have a reason. You know, that is the source of our ills in Nigeria. The same thing is going to happen coming next Saturday for the gubernatorial election and the State House of Assemblies. The same system, and of course, a lot of these results will be challenged in court. But the evidence have showed us that the court have never once overturned decision of the presidential election.
There is a result.
And the issue here.
What happened this time?
It's going to happen.
Okay,
let me respond to your question to the APC.
The Director General of the Nigerian
on what PDP would have should have done better. I assure you that it's very little that we should have done better, because we did well. Our presidential candidate and his vice had very good policy statements in place. Now, they had a very good proposal for the educational system. Our flag bearer, the president-to-be, has a very good university called an American university in his state. It is not free, but he has admitted people that cannot afford to pay the fees. For example, even the girls that were Chibok girls that were free, he has free admission for them.
Fantastic.
And so many others. Secondly, on the economy, he has very good businesses in the country, and he employs so many people. And if he can run businesses very well, then he has the know-how to run the economy of the country.
I wanted to find out. I asked him a question about what the PDP campaign was, and that seemed really, and of course he elaborated what you would have.
No, because he didn't have any information.
I was going to tell
you get from some point of view and I wanted to find out where APC. What APC
did we do that was better?
That was better from them.
That would be good.
That was what I'm saying. What did they do good? Or what was negative?
Because there was anything positive.
Because they reached the election. They did well. Because the election was the real.
Could you both give him time? Let him respond.
Now, I will tell you categorically here that APC does not know anything from the onset apart from blame game.
Really?
Yes. When you ask them about roads, they say
the previous government didn't do roads.
Correct.
When you ask them about the educational system, they say it is the fault of the previous government. They keep talking instead of working.
Yeah, okay.
Now, I assure you they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
All they did was that they planned to rig the election, and they spent all their time planning to rig the election, and they did. But they are not going scot-free.
All right.
So can I just have a rebuttal on that? Because just on those very points, you see, where I believe that APC went right, and where, because we're not going to get an objectivity from my colleagues here, is they...
Did you give us an objectivity?
I can. I tell you, that's okay.
You did it.
I tell you what, before I get to my one, what I said to you... I said to you that if you had focused on the economy, that was your winning gambit, and you didn't. You diverted from that to something else. So I was giving you...
So Nigerian voters know that it was the economy would have the vote.
Let me answer the question.
Our manifesto is our manifesto clearly states there how the educational system is going to be improved, how the infrastructure is going to be improved, how the economy in general is going to be improved, the employment of the youth.
You said that before, so let me say mine. Why APC, I believe, won this election was one because
apart from rigging.
You can use that as your justification. I unfortunately won't do that. I say rigging was across the board, so I'm not labeling one person or the other.
Let's go ahead with your
Focusing on the social intervention program, where they gave trade money and school feeding program. They're building on the infrastructure. So there's things that people can see. He's talking about infrastructure that they can't see. People can see it. The infrastructure.
Sorry, I have to interject. What kind of trade money was given? The 10,000 votes to buy the
I'm not giving trade money on the Friday night.
All year round, they didn't give us trade money, and they wanted to money.
Excuse me.
I need to listen to. We need to listen to one person.
Suit the PDP narrative. So they don't like that trade money. They equate it with vote buying, which it is not. It's a government. Excuse me. This is a government policy that was at the instigation of the. I think it was the money that was taken over from the Abacha loop, and it's in Sweden. And they insisted. The government of Sweden insisted that the government can't have that money unless it uses it for a social intervention program, which they are going to supervise. So the idea that it was all they were part of it. All these things are verifiable.
Right.
Because it doesn't.
Why is that
school feeding program is been going for years. The trader money has been going for years. All these things have been going. Just because it's been highlighted during the time leading up to the election doesn't mean should we stop doing it. Should government stop their program just because of election? No, it should not. It should carry on.
Now,
so we obviously completed projects which were started by the PDP, and that's why we talk about the fact that the foundation that we're built upon was faulty. You cannot start to grow unless you build your foundation. And you must have someone who built the foundation that was faulty. And they're trying to absolve themselves of that fault. I don't understand.
Right. I want us to
complete our project.
Can we
which one did you start as APC government?
The railway that has gone from Lagos. Excuse me. No, you didn't. The one from Lagos to Abeokuta, which is my hometown, you definitely didn't start it. The funding came when Buhari went to China, and they had the Africa Summit in China. That's when the funding was started, and it started 2.5 years ago, not during the time of PDP. For 16 years, Nigeria didn't have a single new standard gauge railway. We're still using the over 100 and something years old railway system that's going like 10, 12 miles an hour. And that's why the people condemned the PDP. I'm sorry to say it, but they didn't deliver.
Can you do a lot of time to this, my friend here,
Can I ask you something? Can I ask you something? You haven't been on this program before, obviously, and I need an opinion on this. Buhari's health is something which is disturbing, not just other Nigerians. Most Nigerians, especially, because at the end of the day, when he had that health care for nearly, he was here in London for, I don't know,
over 100 days.
Over 3 months or something like that. That is a scare. Now, do you see the next person behind Buhari as a person who successful run. The
PDP,
the government wants
PDP will
something goes wrong.
The PDP would have wished that we didn't have a Yemi Osinbajo.
Yeah.
You know, they would. Some of them on some of the platforms even wanted him to have died when he had the helicopter. Sadly enough. No, this I'm not saying you. I'm not talking about you.
PDP. I'm not saying personal.
I'm not saying this. I got the messages from people who said this thing. So what I'm saying is that we are thankful that we have a vice president in Yemi Osinbajo. Likewise, if Atiku had become the president and anything had happened to him, we would have been grateful to have someone like Peter Obi to be the vice president to take in. The presidency is a joint presidency. We know this as a matter of fact. It's not a single presidency. And whoever is the president, if they're ever ill, because it's a possibility, that's why the Constitution allows for it, the deputy steps in, the vice president steps in. Of course, it's of concern that the president was sick for a while. But you all can see that he went on all these campaigns to all the 36 states. To be honest with you, I knew at 2015, I knew there was something wrong. I knew there was something wrong in 2015. But now I have more confidence in
I need an opinion from the chairman here. And that opinion is to do with the arrest of the economico-financial crime. But the arrest by the Economico-Financial Crimes Commission, who recently released Tanya Taraki, who was arrested. He was the deputy of Atiku, and he had been arrested just before.
Now, you see,
could that be part of a way of preventing you guys from going to court?
Yes, you see, let me start from where he stopped. You see, about the president's health, we would wish our president good health and long life. However, this is the president that before he was elected in 2015 was so vocal about improving the healthcare system in Nigeria such that no Nigerian will need to travel abroad for healthcare.
Can I be deliberative for you?
But
is that possible?
Give me a moment.
Even in 1 year, you can build a hospital.
You think so?
You can build a hospital
Jesus Christ.
in 1 year.
Can we hear the chairman?
He didn't have to build. He didn't have. Excuse me. He didn't have to build a new hospital. We have the hospitals there. All he needed to improve on the equipment that are there, and if need be, bring in 1 or 2 specialists that can even attend to him, and when they are free or when he is healthy, they can attend to other Nigerians.
Instead of coming,
he didn't have to come abroad for over 100 years. Not only him, he came with a team of 8, and they had to be accommodated. The plane had to be stay in the airport, and Nigerians have to pay for that. Now, then when I go to this issue of arrest by EFCC.
EFC.
Now, it is a strategy of APC to quieten the opposition.
Okay.
You understand?
Leave the guilty.
They knew
when they have already won.
They have not won. Because it is said the guilty are afraid.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, and that is why we are in court now. They arrested these people. Why would they, when they have so much cases pending, why would they have time to go after people that have no case at all with them?
Okay.
So
he doesn't have a case at all.
There is no case.
It's a created case.
There is completely no case.
Right. Let me hear from the chief here.
Let me come in because I would want us to really, have a fair time to talk. I know because there are new guests. That's why they are having this time. Now let me tell you, the railway improvement started from Jonathan Goodluck.
Okay.
That is PDP president.
Not late as
started improving.
All right.
Now, second Niger Bridge also started by Goodluck. Right. And yes, go there. Buhari only after some time and pressure now authorized, because the system of the Nigerian government, whether the previous, is not to have a continuous government policy, right? the issue that because it's the my own position that started a good work, therefore you kill it. You don't want to continue on that.
Even though you're in the same party.
Right? No. Hold on. I'm talking of what is going on, because these issues, as far as PDP were concerned, the improvement we are going. Good luck, Jonathan. PDP president build a lot of universities, Almajere schools in the north and everywhere. Now, the issue here, we were talking about the EFCC.
Yeah.
When the former governor of Akwa Ibom was being investigated, because he came to APC, it stopped. Really? I will rest my case so that you can attend to it.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I've of course listened to the changes. I just want to go to again remind our viewers in terms that we are thankful for the Omega TV, obviously, who are sponsoring this program, and I think at some point the address and the system and the telephone number will be read to you, or will be onto our screen, and the number is 0203 581 8794. That is the telephone number of our sponsors, and obviously the address, which is 74 West Green Road, West Green, London. There are so many other things that take place, the print, photography, and so on and so forth. But most of those details will come on as we go along, and will be on our screens. So thank our sponsors once again, because we're approaching towards the end of the program. And I just thought I better mention that. The thing is, it's fascinating that there is a lot going on. The one fact remains: we are all Nigerians.
Absolutely.
And it's important that this shouldn't really be a division.
We want Nigeria to work again.
Nigeria should. Now, the main reason I always want the way forward. The future is always such that if you look at what is going to be nice for the country, it is always going to be nice for everybody, because it will serve the opinion of all of you. And the main reason for these discussions is that we find a way, what is really worth us trying, not just for Nigeria, but for the whole of Africa. Something has to be working. And this is one of the reasons I said, look, all the tactics which have been used, what is working and what is not working. I look at the next elections, which are going to take place, obviously, and I'm thinking, if these malpractices are going to continue, you're going to get the wrong people as governors of states who won't be doing anything, you know. And that is why the shouting has to be done by you, whether it's a PDP in power or APC in power. It's still, you need the right people. Now, is there a mechanism of electing, of getting the right people before, or rather than people who are selected by the party just on a selection ground? How are you elected? How did you get elected as chairman of UK chapter?
All right. Okay. Now what happens is that usually nominations are called, and you are nominated, and then through the for the election,
2 or 3 people campaign.
Yes, campaign, and then they go through what we call the primaries, and then the flag bearer is elected in the primaries.
All right.
So he becomes a flag bearer of the party, and then they now go forward to the general election between the different parties. So, and that is what happened between Buhari and Atiku in Nigeria.
Okay.
However,
of course, Atiku, Buhari being a presidential incumbent, didn't go through the process.
However, yes, they did primaries. However, in his party, there was
no challenge.
No challenge. We had no challenge.
From Buhari's,
yes, Buhari, that is APC.
And president.
And what is unfortunately for them,
even then, there should be somebody challenging him within
his
party.
It doesn't have to.
Unfortunately for them, unfortunately for the group, the leadership of APC, I wouldn't say whether because they are out of this generation, they think that Nigerians are still the Nigerians of 10, 20 years back. They are not aware that Nigeria has moved forward. Nigerians are more aware than they were. And so that is why we have to challenge this and make clear that PDP won this election. So whether they agree that they rigged or not, it was rigged.
Now, how do Nigerians prevent rigging? Because when the president is in office, when he's in office, we are facing this not just in Nigeria but throughout the whole Africa. Because we discussed this with we discussed this with the chief when he was here. That how do we elect somebody in a higher position, INEC for example, to be fair? It's going to be difficult. That's why I kept saying we get foreigners in, because then the person will be neutral. The person will be neutral.
Let's speak in terms, so it will be very good. He spoke, now let me speak.
Okay.
The issue here is to have good governance. If you start having good governance, then everything runs smoothly. When the corruption starts from the head down to the bottom, of course everything is in a mess. Now you are saying about having a credible election. That's exactly what we are pointing out. That's what all of us want. So we organize our election freely without any intimidation, any violence. We had a lot of violence in this election. People died. What about 200 something people killed? And Femi is here telling you that everything went fine.
No, that's not what
I
said. I never
said
that.
No, because according to you being an NPC man, everything went fine.
I never said that at all.
A lot of ballot papers were burnt.
I never said
so
that.
Is that an atmosphere of a good election? Is that an atmosphere of a good election?
The military went there even after the election, destroyed the ballot papers.
And this is documented on the video.
Yes.
Let me finish, please, because I'm having. Let me finish what you answered, because I want us to, because time is running out. Let's talk on it. Now, if you actually want a credible election, the INEC should be above board, without any influence from any political parties, be it the ruling party. Because since the president has the power to appoint and remove, of course, the chairman of INEC will be listening to the president.
Of course,
Will be dancing to the tune of the president.
No,
because they are controlling, excuse me, they are controlling what was going on.
Okay.
The election that was postponed overnight was announced in the night, when the Muhammad was telling us after 4 years that everything was fine, that the election will not be postponed, and this and that. And I have a video of it here.
Up to the
morning
of the election.
And for that to come in the morning of the election, in the night morning of election, to say that due to logistical something, when you have 4 years to prepare for the election. Stephen, I've told you, something went wrong.
Exactly.
There was discussion that brought that, and the ruling party had influence. Because after this, the ruling party are sending all their top executive ministers and all those things to different places during this election period to be able to organize and did what they did. So, for that, once officially, I will propose the Nigerian constitution to have a mechanism of appointing the INEC board and their chairman outside the influence of the president. Let it be done by the legislation, the legislative be voted for in the House of Assembly, Senate, in the House of Representatives. Nominations put forward, and let people be screened and be nominated, and let the
way they do
parliament,
the way they do the jury.
Yes. Let the parliament then vote on who will be. So that they have no influence of any political party on them.
I believe that would be ideal in an ideal world. That would work. But even if it was an APC president, or even if it was a PDP president, you're still going to have something
similar. It's still going to be the same problem. You know, we're coming towards the end of the program anyway.
It was because Goodluck Jonathan's case, if it was the problem, therefore, Jiga would have pronounced Goodluck the president.
Okay,
so that Professor Jiga would have. That's what I'm telling you. It was not an issue of the presidency.
Can I hear from Femi? Can I hear from Femi? As far as that's going to be quick, because we're running out of time.
The way forward is good governance. I agree with that. We need credible elections and, of course, a strong INEC. But at the end of the day, it's down to the legislators. You know, if the legislators don't make the laws, we're with what we have, and we've got to make the most of it. You know, as I said, this election was free and fair in certain respects, not 100%. They're going to challenge it, which they have the right to do so. We're happy for them to do so. I think in the end, if at the end of the day, the judgment goes against them, I hope then they won't keep on saying that it wasn't free and fair, because if the judgment comes and says it was free and fair, I hope that'll be the end of it, and then we can then move forward to improve the economy of Nigeria, because I think that's what we need to be focusing on. What is the next thing that the next government needs to be doing in terms of improving the economy, creating growth, bringing in foreign investment, dealing with education? He says that you see, in other climes, if you have great policies, you try and bring your policies to influence the government. You don't just stay on the outside. So if they had a great education policy, which I didn't see anything like free education.
You read our
I did. I have a copy on my phone.
So why did you have a copy of that?
You don't have free education.
Give me a second. Now, I want to come in with the elections which are happening on Saturday, the governorship elections which are happening on Saturday. Just briefly, how do you see these elections? Who has an edge? APC or
can I just finish up?
You finish up,
So I believe that, as I said earlier, I think PDP will do well in their state. So in Rivers, for example, they have no opposition. I believe that the warlord governor, Wike, has cleared out all opposition, so there's no opposition.
So you're saying
warlord.
PDP
will
do well.
And he's calling his legislatures whatever. He's calling his senior advocate of Nigeria something.
So you know Nigeria, absolutely.
You know what we are saying.
I know exactly what I'm saying. And I say that in the sense that with the number of killings that you talked about, in terms of the militants that was gunning down people, which you're trying to accuse soldiers of doing,
elections are going to be, the governorship elections are going to be fair.
The problem we have is that the fight or the desperation of our politicians will come more to the fore, unfortunately, in the governorship elections. It's even worse.
It's going to be worse than that. Well, you know,
in certain, not all over the place. In certain particular states, it could be a bit of a cake, the fire cake. Because, like for example, in Ogun State now, what you have, and Imo State, for example, you have sitting governors that want to dictate who should be there. Who should their successor, and it's going against the party's line, and that's going to create another load of problems.
All right.
You
see the elections?
Yes, I would touch on where he spoke. Now, despite the fact that the presidency or the executive of Nigerian government do not have respect for the judicial system or the judiciary, we of the PDP have confidence in the judicial system, and that is why we are proceeding with this case. And
the elections.
I assure you that the governorship elections is going to be a winner for us, the PDP, and for Nigerians. Because we have seen how these people have tried to
twist the governorship
the will of the people.
It's different from the presidential one.
But it is still between the two major parties. And we have seen how the APC has been twisting, or is trying to twist, the will of the people, and the people are now aware that the APC wants to disenfranchise them and impose themselves on them. The people are now standing up for themselves.
Okay,
and so PDP will win.
You're right.
When most of the states,
you had your opinion. You had your opinion.
I want to clarify.
I want to have the chief because
of course,
less than a minute to go.
When he was talking, if I interject, you said every television interview.
So I know that please. We only have a minute.
The issue here is that the Saturday election of the gubernatorial and the House of Reps, we pray that it goes without any violence or any killing. You know, and the PDP will win most of the states anyway. Like what Mr. Maton said, people are awake. Nigerians are awake. But of course, if the APC will not come back with their rigging tactics again, we should not eliminate that. Because what produces the result of the presidential election was the mere fact that they manipulated the figures, and that's why they won.
Okay.
You know? Of course, PDP are challenging it in the court. And of course, we will hope that the judiciary will do their job without any fear or favor, any influence of any sort. That is how we feel that election will be fair.
We look forward to seeing the results of the what comes out of the court, the governorship, and then the court appearances and what will happen. We will be here definitely to bring viewers up to date with what has gone on in court and what has gone on in the Nigerian elections. Before we go, I just want to say that Ghana becomes what? How many years of independence since Ghana, the first African countries, gained independence? It's going to become
57?
No, it's going to be on 50. I think 62.
No, 1957.
No, 57. So that's 52.
When did they get the independence?
I think 57.
1957.
57.
So it's 59, isn't it?
62. It's 62 now. It's going to be 62 years. Tomorrow when Ghana gains independence. We welcome all Ghanaians, and we want to celebrate with all Ghanaians on, of course, getting this independence out of the way. And before I go again, I'm going to remind you that our sponsors, Omega House, are very, very good people. Get in touch with them in regards to print, leaflets, flyers, cards, posters, video, everything that you really want to do. All you need to do is get in touch with them, and the telephone number is 0203-581-8794, and that is the number for Omega TV, Omega House. Get in touch with them in regards to the things I've just mentioned there regarding our printings. Once again, I just want to thank my guests for coming to today's program, and I do hope that whichever problems we have as Africans, not just Nigerians, because what affects Nigeria affects all of us, the continent. They say that, like what the British say, that when Nigeria sneezes, the rest of Africa catches a cold. So, that's what they say. The Americans have been, the British have been saying that when something goes off in America, the British gets the cold. So the rest of Africa gets the cold when Nigeria sneezes, and we want the best for Nigeria, and we hope that you're going to sort this whole thing out, elections, whatever happens there, and then the rest of Africa will be glad for you. Thank you very much for viewing us.
Can we use this opportunity to congratulate Ghana on their independence coming up tomorrow? And I will call on Ghana and Ghanaians to strongly support PDP and Nigeria in ensuring that the rightful person is given the mandate. That is President Atiku Abubakar of Nigeria. Thank you.
Somebody from
and God bless.
In closing, I will enjoy it. I won't be partisan, and I will just congratulate all Ghanaians on their independence tomorrow, and I'm join you to support all Africans and Nigeria generally as we push forward with democracy. Democracy first.
Okay.
Right. Don't leave me out. I would not accept that. My fellow Ghanaians, I wish you the 62nd birthday. That is Independence Day, and honestly, Ghana is a light. The country is doing well. as far as we non-Ghanaians see what is going on. Of course, happy Independence Day tomorrow, and please do support what is going on in Nigeria and stand on the path of fair, credible, and a true election. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you very much for our viewers, and I do hope that we'll be together again next week for next week's program, and I do hope it's as lively as this one. Thank you once again, and may God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.